Hi everyone, happy Thursday. So today we are once again making another video about champagne because I love champagne. Champagne is fantastic. Yesterday, Tiffany, after drinking a bottle of the Francis Orban, loving it, asked a question about why the bottle was labeled as NB or non-vintage and if all champagne was labeled that way. And I was going to go dig up old videos of the different champagne videos I made because surely I made one talking about this. Turns out I never did. So today we are going to talk about the different styles of champagne. The first thing first, just like Tiffany asked, non-vintage. Non-vintage actually takes up about 3/4 of all the champagne you're going to see out in the market. It's the most broadly used label and is usually written as NV, standing for non-vintage. And usually they are brut in style, but it can range in any kind of sweetness to dryness. And non-vintage is essentially like a house style. And as you know, wine is a living, breathing thing, and it's very much affected by the different weathers that every vintage has. So in order to make a classic house style that tastes similar year in and year out, they have to blend from different vintages, and hence why in order to make a consistent house blend, it has to be a non-vintage, or else it will change too much from year to year. Hence why that's a non-vintage, and I'm going to keep it short. The second one that you will see, the second style of champagne you're going to see is the vintage champagne. The vintage champagne will have a year written on there. For example, this one, if you can see, 1985. This means 100% of the grape has to come from the vintage that it is listed. And you actually cannot. So depending on the champagne houses, some champagne houses will make a vintage champagne almost every single year because generally you can sell the vintage champagne for a higher price, but there is the rule saying that you cannot sell more than 80% of your year's harvest as a vintage champagne. So you always have to keep at least 20% back from every single vintage. Even when it's a really great vintage, you want to bottle it all as vintage, you must keep 20% for blending purpose with other years and all that stuff. The next two popular style that you'll see a lot on champagne bottle is, the first is Blanc de Blanc. Blanc de Blanc means white of white. So this means it is a white champagne made out of white grapes. So right down here, this bottle, it says Blanc de Blanc, so white of white. So it means it's again, made out of white grapes, and it is a white champagne. There's only three main grapes that is used in champagne making: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. And all of the three, Chardonnay is the only one that's white. So if you ever see a Blanc de Blanc, like this bottle says, it means it's made with 100% Chardonnay. Next is what we call the Blanc de Noir, Noir meaning black. So I'm sure you can guess. So if Blanc de Blanc is made of 100% white grape, Blanc de Noir meaning is a white champagne made out of 100% black grape. So technically this bottle here is Blanc de Noir, even though it doesn't list it on the label. But if you see the back label here, the first thing it says is made. Oh, it's kind of hard to focus. All right. The first thing it says is made out of 100% Pinot Meunier, which is a black grape, but it is a white champagne, so it's technically a Blanc de Noir. So that's the next style. And after that, we actually have something called Le Prestige Cuvee, or more commonly known as Tête de Cuvee. The Tête de Cuvee is essentially the flagship or the highest price, the most prestige blend or style from any given champagne house. And as some exam, we actually do have to remember, that's part of the question that they love to ask is, hey, what is the Tête de Cuvee for blah house? So for example, you'll have to know that Dom Perignon is not a brand itself. It is actually the Tête de Cuvée or the Prestige Cuvée of Moët Chandon, and Cristal is the Tête de Cuvée of Louis Roederer. So on and so forth. So essentially, Tête de Cuvée is just the highest representation of a champagne house's champagne. And Lawrence, hi, Dr. Tsai, he loves champagne. Of course he does. I know, I love champagne too. You know, it's great with everything. Okay, and after that, we get even a little geekier. There's also what we call a single vineyard champagne. So in Champagne, there's also a lot of different Grand Cru or single vineyards and whatever have you. I think, for example, this bottle is made 100% from Limonel. It's really hard to tell, but one of the best example I can think of will be wow, I'm like drawing a blank. Sorry, there you go. So Cru does like a single vineyard as well, vintage single vineyard, old Grand Cru stuff, Limonel. And a lot of other smaller gourd producer champagne will produce single vineyard champagne as well. And we also have something called a special club champagne, which I don't have an example of. Unfortunately, I love champagne too much too. And there's not too many bottles of champagne I have in stock I can show you. But a special club is originated back in 71, is apparently a dozen of gourd producers. So gourd producer now is hot, but back in the day it was really hard for the smaller individual gourd producers, smaller champagne houses to try to market their stuff. So essentially they band together and they decided to launch a special club. So they have this special shape of bottle, and all the label look very similar, even though it's made by 12 different champagne houses. Essentially, the goal was to be able to combine their marketing power and make their champagne more recognizable internationally. And they've done a great job. I think one of the most popular special club champagne is Paul Bar right now. If you never had it before, absolutely delicious. And their rosé is outstanding. And talk about rosé, that will be the last style we'll cover today. I'm trying to keep it quick today. I know the last few days I'm like 20 minutes in, so I'm trying to keep it quick. So the last one will be a rosé champagne. A rosé champagne can be both vintage or non-vintage, and essentially it is a pink bubbly, just like this bottle here, and of course it's made in the traditional method. And the only difference is that there's always some, in order to make it pink, you have to have some skin contact, so there's always some kind of black grape in there. And it is a lot more difficult to make, so usually a little bit harder to find and a little more pricey whenever you can find it. So that's that. Those are a quick overview of the different styles of champagne. And yes, the non-vintage will be the most affordable and the most widely marketed ones out there. But if you never had a chance to pick up a good bottle of rosé or trying Special Club or Tête de Cuvée and anything I've listed, give it a try. Champagne is amazing anytime. With that being said, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to join my Facebook group. I know you're already in it, or subscribe to my YouTube channel for my regular update. And of course, I also offer a lot of great wine deals on my website, www.angiesom.com. You can sign up there. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.